Santa Monica with this ocean in my backyard. It was a wonderful place of recreation and refuge. And now I live by a different ocean of grass, and or ocean, it's the ocean of grass, and it's also a very compelling place. So I'm really excited to tell you about it. It's a place that a lot of us don't know about, and it's really been under. Even the settlement story out here is actually amazing. You know, this is the Swift box. They sent people out with the Homestead Act, and you could prove up 160 acres. And 160 acres in this country, you can grow maybe 2 cows on. So the people back in the East had no idea about what it took to really ranch in this country. It's the sage grouse. That's the largest grouse in the United States, and they were just warranted for listing on the endangered species list. This is pronghorn antelope. This is the last long-distance migration in North America. They are the fastest mammal in North America. They can run 60 miles an hour and 30 miles an hour with ease. It's a blast when you're driving down the road and they decide they're going to race you. Storing wildlife and ecological processes is no simple matter. And I'm going to, just to illustrate what that takes, I'm going to talk for a minute about our bison restoration on the American Prairie Reserve, that Montana project. Bison are unique. They're one of the engineers of the landscape. We call them an ecosystem engineer. Really, bison and prairie dogs and the prairie are the 2 big engineers. And this wallowing behavior where they create these depressions, Mike has a wonderful picture in there. I hadn't really seen it before, but you know, they create these depressions and they move on, and then these depressions in the spring fill with water, and then different plants coming around the water, and birds nest, and there's this whole little micro ecosystem that's created just because these guys decided to roll around on the ground for a while. And it's a fascinating thing. So to bring them back to Montana, we wanted to create a new conservation herd. And so we wanted to create the best possible herd we could, with the best genetics, with no disease issues. And we had to look hard to find that, because back in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, when bison there were still very few after we got them down to less than 1,000, there were all these experiments done to create a better cow. And so they were crossing bison and cows. And there's a thing called beefalo, maybe some people remember, or cowalo. And so there's a lot of our bison today have cattle genes in them. So we said, well, let's start with the best possible without the cattle genes in them. So we got 16 bison from South Dakota and brought them onto this landscape. And now there are, that was 2005, now there's 225. And in 10 years, there'll be more than 5. We're also looking on a broader scale at the economics of this region. Like I said, there's a lot of people leaving. It's really hard to make a living out there. And are there ways that conservation can add to what people are doing so that they can stay on the landscape and also bring the wildlife back and be accepting of them, because it doesn't diminish their income, it actually adds. So we're creating this huge reserve in Montana. That's not going to be the only place we do that. We're starting to work in South Dakota now, around Badlands National Park, to also expand the bison herd there and expand the mountain land that's managed for conservation, working with the tribe there and some of the local